All right, so today is the day. It's gonna rain all day, so I think it's time to get working on the old girl. My 1983 Porsche 928S, and it's you've seen it. And I've done a bit of a walk around, a little bit of history on it in the past video, but I've just been putting off working on it because I've had so many other things going on. But I am finally going to get to it today. As you can see, it's just gotten covered by dust. It needs some cleanup, but we'll get going here. Mainly, the deal with it is all the parts are here. It was running when it eventually got parked, sat for 7 years outside, and I found it and bought it from the former owner. And he was just asking me the other day, have you gotten that thing running yet? And I'm like, no. So I've got to get on it. And I've done a little bit of work to it already, but we'll get into that in a minute. So I just wanted to tell you what was going on. I'm going to try to get things cleaned up a little bit, pull stuff out, and I'll bring you along with me. So welcome to TWC Projects. All right, so I've just been trying to get things, make a little room here, and I basically came back and hooked up the battery and the charger so we can get that charging while we're doing other things. But as you can see, it's a bit of a bit of a project. It's going to take quite a bit of work, but I had worked on this for about, I don't know, 3 or 4 months when I first got it, and then it's been a few years since I've had time to work on it, so I may end up having to do a little bit of rework. But let me tell you a little bit about what the main goals and the main plan is. The main plan is to get it running again, and then you know, start going through the essentials. So first we'll get it running, then we'll go through the brakes and the drivetrain, and replace a lot of seals and gaskets, and obviously all the fluids, clean out anything we need to. So in my effort to get it running, the first thing I had to do was a lot of electrical, and I ended up putting on new grounding cable here, and then running a new positive cable underneath the whole car up to the engine, and went through all the grounding all the terminations throughout, anywhere I could find, made sure they're all clean. The good news is all those bolts and washers, and most all the fittings, and even the connectors are all solid brass. So I've been able to clean them very easily and not have an issue with, you know, corrosion to the point where it had to be replaced. So that's good. However, this is a 1983, and it's using 1978 developed technology, I guess. And so this is my whole electrical and relay setup here. As you can see, I've gone through and put all new fuses in, replaced every relay I could. I tested some of them, the ones that I couldn't easily replace, because they do add up after a while. I pulled every one of these. You can see they're all numbered. I pulled every wire out and cleaned the connectors and put them back in, to avoid, you know, to try to make sure I'm dealing with all the corrosion challenges. As I mentioned in the other video, the seal on the sunroof went bad, and I think I've got a new one for it, but certainly not high on my priority list. But what happened was that all the rain had come in over time, went right down the windshield, right down through the front, and just everything that was down here, including the ECU, which is right here now. And when I originally pulled it out of its case, and you can kind of see in there, now it had been sitting in my garage for 1.5 years, and when I pulled this out, it was still filled with water. So that clearly does not function anymore. So I got another one that, you know, obviously a used one off of eBay, and Supposedly they had tested it and they said it worked fine, and I put it in. But I can get the car to start by, well, yeah, so let me go back. So that's electrical. Then fuel system. Fuel was a mess. So pulled the fuel tank out, had to completely clean that all out, had to replace, there's a screen in the tank. There was nothing but sheds, just little pieces. I mean, it didn't even look like it was a screen. It was probably the original. So pulled that out, replaced all that, new fuel pump, new fuel lines in the back, flushed the lines to the front, got fuel. So I know the fuel pump's working, obviously new gas in it, because I cleaned the tank out and they actually painted a lot of stuff back there too that had just gotten some corrosion or over time. And what else I did? So I got it to the point where I know that the fuel is pumping right out of the fuel rails. So this is a fuel injected V8. And and then I can put ether down into the engine, and it'll fire and run for about 4 seconds, but as soon as the cold start valve closes and the fuel injectors are supposed to take over, they don't seem to do anything and it stalls right out. And I know I've got spark going to all the wires. So I got fuel injector testers, and I put those on. I unplug the wire for the fuel injector tip, which of course the pulse of electricity causes the little spray of fuel into the engine, and they're not lighting up at all. And that's where I left off. I couldn't figure out where the issue is, but it seems to still be somewhat electrical, which these cars, I guess, are notorious for having electrical problems, which I knew going into it. So that's probably where we're going to pick up today after I kind of finish cleaning and organizing a little bit, and we're going to try to get to the point where we can trace the wiring probably from the ECU to here and see if it is the computer that's not working right, or is it wiring in between. And if it's a computer, that'll be unfortunate because I think I could probably find one still, but they are not inexpensive at all. So anyway, other things I may end up doing, and I've done a little bit, is replacing some of the fuel lines, and some of the vacuum lines as well, where I felt like I was having some problems. So, and there are pieces that are missing. I'm sure you're wondering, where are those big old arms, vents that come from the front back to the air cleaner. All that stuff's been taken off, but I've got it all, so I can put it all back together. So that's kind of where we are, what we're doing. I'm going to dig into it a little bit. I'll video a little bit of it and then try to catch you up. But this is not going to be fixed in this video. Let me just give you that information right now. This is going to be a lot of work, but hopefully, if I can get a good 6 or 7 hours in today, I might make it some progress and make a dent in it. Hopefully, can kind of figure out a little bit more troubleshooting here, and we'll keep going. But we've got a lot of work ahead of us, and as you saw, the other side's the worst, but the interior, everything needs to completely be gutted out. And I do have all new carpet pieces that I had shipped over from Germany, which is a company that I guess I think I told you that in the last video, so I'll deal with that. And then I've got to get all new leather for everything, and pull the seats completely apart, and the console, and a lot of things. So this car does not smell very good. It's mildewy, but most of the vinyl stuff, I think, all looks really good still. So I can keep that all original, and we'll clean it up, with some chemicals and so forth to make it look nice again. But this thing isn't too far. It certainly won't be. It'll be a resto mod for sure. But, I mean, the seats are not the original seats, as you, I'm sure, recognize right away. If you're a 928 person, that's the thing people like the most about them. Or not like the most, but they notice that right away. They're so different from the rest of the Porsche seats. And then the wheels came off a later model Carrera as well. And I think I said I thought it was 80s, but it might even be a 90s model. So I probably ought to do a little homework on that. But I love these wheels. I think that's part of the attraction to me, especially the rear wider wheels on the back. they really fit this car much better than the original factory wheels. And of course, there's nothing like the rear end of this car. It's just unbelievable. It just has its very unique look. And of course, that was one of the things I was very pleased. All the glass, everything is nice. I mean, the car actually is overall very restorable, very, you know, I think it'll be good. It's just, it's going to take some more love and some work and a lot of sweat and a little blood and some tears maybe, but we'll get it done one way or another. But it's not going to happen overnight. So anyway, hey, let's keep going on this thing. All right, so as mice would do, they decided to make a home out of my air intake. So luckily the valve was closed on it. That's about it. Looks like as far as they got. So the other end is clean still inside, which is a good sign. But anyway, a little cleanup work to do there. Good old mice, boy. They'll definitely make a job of your car if you leave it sitting for too long. This is, I think, this happened after when I had it down in the car, the temporary garage, like the tent that was down there where the tree fell on it. So anyway, a little more fun. So as you can see, they made a home of it down in here. I've put a rag down the intake just to make sure as I clean this up I don't get any into the engine, but yeah, they made a bit of a mess. They got there. I found several nuts in here. And anyway, definitely more cleanup. All right, we've got that cleaned up now, and I got the throttle housing too. I took that, and hopefully you can see up inside. Cleaned all that out. So the air, this is the air intake where the filter goes right on top of here. So we'll put that back together, pull the rag out of the hole, and get this to a point where we can try to turn it over again. So let's keep going on it. All right, so now that we got that back in there, we'll, I think we're ready to hook up the battery. I'm just going to look around a little bit more to see if there's anything else that I need to hook back up first. And we'll get our fuel injection emitters hooked onto the fuel injection line and try firing to see if we get anything. So let's see what happens. All right, it's turning over real well, but no spark at all, or no fuel injection ignition. So I might just try one other, but I'm pretty sure that my ECU is not functioning, or maybe I'm gonna have to figure out how to try to trace wire from here all the way up to where it comes out of the harness on the engine. So, well, it's good the engine turns over. I've had it running briefly. If I put a little bit of ether in it, it'll run for a few seconds on the ether, and then it dies out. I've checked the fuel pump, fuel filter, all that has been replaced. Fuel lines cleaned. Where I left off was I took off a port on the fuel rail, and I've got fuel coming out of the rail. So I know I've got fuel going up to the engine, but I don't have any. And I do have ignition, or I do have spark, because it'll start with the ether and run briefly. So it looks like it's electrical still. Nothing. So you heard it fire up with ether in it, which means my spark's working fine, but I'm just not getting fuel into the engine. So it's either the ECU is bad, or it's the wiring between the ECU and here, and I for some reason I'm doubtful that it's the wiring. It might be, I cleaned all the connectors inside. So, don't know exactly. Anyway, well, I think we're gonna wrap it here for now. This car obviously needs a lot of love and a lot of work, which we're gonna give it over time. I've got a lot of other projects going on, but I wanted to try to get started on this at least, and feels good to at least get it to this point. And it was nice to hear it start for a second. I guess if I had been able to put a little bit more fuel into it while it was starting to run, it would have run a little bit longer. But the oil looks good in it. All the fluids are good. And it was running when it originally was shut down, so it's somewhere in that electrical world. That's the issue. And we'll keep at it. So I'll bring you along next time when I get back to this, and we'll take it the next step and see if we can figure out. I can't wait to hear it running, because once it starts to run, then I'm going to get really excited about doing all the rest of the work, the interior and a lot of the exterior stuff. Obviously, there's more mechanical stuff that will come first, I think, as I've said before. So we'll start with getting the engine running, then we'll go to the brakes and the coolant system and transmission and all the mechanical parts to make sure we get those, new seals, new fluid, and get those in tip-top shape again. And then eventually get to the really fun stuff, which will be the whole interior. But that's a ways away. So anyway, I thank you for joining me. Thank you for watching TWC Projects. And thank you for subscribing, liking, sharing with a friend. And hit the bell to get notified when new ones come out. And I've got, I try to keep playlists. I'm sure you figured that out if you're a regular subscriber, but I have playlists of different things. The Porsche will have its own playlist, so if you're only interested in that, you'll see the videos all grouped together there. And then, I've got the UTV, has a lot of videos that are very popular, and since I seem to be one of the few people who have one that does a lot of videos, other than dealers. Dealers are good about putting videos out, but they're always just showing you the latest brand new one, whereas I have shown you issues with it when I've had problems with it, but also a lot of the fun that I've had with it in the real world. So, and then of course the tractor videos, have those, and others too, Bear Ridge, my off-grid property. So I'm staying busy and I'm bringing you along with me. I hope you enjoy these, and keep watching, and I love your support. The questions I try to answer as soon as I can, hopefully helpful. So, and also I put that website together, twc-projects.net, and I put a lot of energy into that. Hopefully those of you have gone and checked it out, really enjoy it. A lot of helpful resources out there, especially on the things that I'm kind of working on with some of the extra manuals or diagrams or things that I found that I think will be helpful to others. They're on that website, so check that out. And that's it. Until next time, have a fantastic week, and I'll see you on the next project.